So I was late tonight because I was playing basketball, and there was only four of us, 2-on-2. We were supposed to play at 5. Three of us got there at 5. The fourth member did not arrive until I think 5:30. So we got a little later start, and then we played, and then I asked one of the guys what time it was, and he said 6:30. I said, "Cool, we got time for one more quick game." So we went out there, and then when I sat back down on the bleachers we were done. I said, "What time?" And it was 7:01. I was like, "Oh my god!" So I got to thinking about the the things we do in life where we lose track of time. This morning, I spent a lovely time in Los Angeles. Yesterday, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said his daughter-in-law was the day before yesterday. Anyway, he said his daughter-in-law visited here once and said she would never come back. She's from LA, and she just couldn't get her mind around our little tiny town. And as he was talking about that, I said to him, "I was in LA this morning," and he gave me the strangest look, real quick, like, "How's that possible?" But it really did feel like to me that's where I had been that morning, and that's where I spent most of the day today. Very, very real. When I'm writing, creating in that world, I can easily lose track of time. Now, my approach starting to write novels when I had small children was to welcome interruptions. Door stays open, they come and go, as much as they want. The whole, joy of working at home is just they have continual access to me, and I could take breaks, and but it made me think of when I was a young man, which I know you were saying you still are, but no, I mean when I was really young, I was exploring not my sexuality. I mean maybe, but I was exploring the arts and looking for a place of expression, and so I was trying different things. Um, it wasn't until a little later that I discovered writing, and it was like, this is my thing. And it didn't mean it was my only thing. Some other things came back around, music and different things, but for the most part, definitely writing is the center. But before I realized that, I was looking. And one of the things I explored was acting. And one of the things I learned in acting, which is true of everything we do or anything that we can do well, is obviously they say, acting is not acting, it's reacting, being present in the scene, and you're reacting to what your co-actor does. You're just responding. And if you're really there and you're responding, it's authentic. It feels real. They say the greats, Jack Nicholson, if Stanley Kubrick does 100 takes, it's different his performance is different every single time. So you can't just walk through the door and say your lines. You have to see what he's doing, because that's what he's doing for you and filling it out. But the word that's required for that is focus. When I attempted to act, I had several issues with it. One was related to performing, and there was aspects of it that just did not feel authentic to me. I found that if I would write the play and be in it, I felt far more authentic and comfortable. But at a certain point, I realized it was not for me. And one of the things that I lacked was focus. not focus so much on my mind's wandering or but on an audience mood, or I just had an awareness of things going on around me that made it difficult to really focus. Not so when I'm writing, especially obviously most of the time when I'm writing, it's just me in my library, me in my office, me in my home, just, going into that world. Tonight when I was balling, it was focus. And it was, you know, unimaginable heat and, you know, a lot of different things, but there was focus involved. And that focus caused me to lose track of time. The experts tell us that there's a zone that we can get into. Professionals do this, professional athletes, professional business people, whatever, surgeon, whatever the job is, that we can practice, we can study, we can learn over a lifetime, even. And all of that is not what we're thinking about when we're doing the thing. When we're doing the thing, we're focused, we're there, and we're bringing in everything we've ever learned and practiced and the cumulative efforts of all of it. And it goes into this, but we get into that zone. And let's take the GOAT. Let's take LeBron James. Let's take the GOAT. Let's take Muhammad Ali. There, Ali is not sitting there thinking, oh, a right jab would be good right now. Oh, I should maybe throw a left hook. Oh, I should lean on. It's automatic, right? It's a flow. It's a flow state. And so I just tonight wanted to talk about this idea of flow, of concentration or focus, and to the point that we really do engage in a way that we can do something special. That could be a conversation, right? Where we are locked in, we are not thinking about anything else, we're not wondering about, what's next or what we should be doing. But whatever it is, bringing our full attention, the full weight of our attention to something we're doing. I feel like we live in a world of absolute, almost 24/7 distraction. And not just from this, but think about how much distraction there is. Giving someone the gift of our attention, giving someone or something that we're doing the gift of our focus is an incredible gift. The experts also say, and I don't think I found this to be true for me, but what do I know? They're experts. But they say when you're doing something and focused and you get interrupted, it takes at least 15 minutes to get back into that flow state, sometimes longer. I don't know if it's how I started and the way I've gone all the way through, but for me, I feel like if I'm writing and someone calls or I get a text and I respond to it, I can slip right back into what I was doing. Maybe not, maybe there's a little transition time, I'm not sure, but I don't disagree that not having the interruption is best for flow. But I just wanted to share all this because of the experience I had today and to apologize to y'all for being late, but to explore why it was. I'm typically not someone who runs late. I'm usually the over responsible person that's early and whatever. I'm glad at my age in life that I can focus, that I can get in a flow state, that I can, but I wonder what your relationship is with this, with focus. If you have conditions that make it challenging, there are actual conditions that fight our focus, fight our attention. um, and there's medication. I just wondered if this resonates in any way, anything I'm saying, and if you what your experience with it is.
I'll tell you what, one of the things I have trouble with a lot of times is cleaning up. Like, I'm just running in and out of the house. I'll throw something on the table or throw something here, and it just, eventually gets all cluttered up and it gets overwhelming. And I'm still running and still have a million things going on, so I don't want to. And I'll sit there trying to make myself do it, and it'll just push me into get into a real hole or something because I just really don't know where to start. And I found recently that if I sit down and I actually meditate and calm my mind, that when I come out, if I have a good meditation, if I come out, I'll look around and it makes it easy to get into that state where I'm like, oh my gosh, this doesn't match how I'm feeling in my mind. And I'll just get into it and go. And it's amazing when you get into that state, how much you can get done. Like, it'll only be, 15 minutes and I would have knocked out everything I was dreading, thinking it was going to take hours. But it's just getting in that state of mind where you realize that your world kind of mirrors what's in your head. And if you get your mind clear and your head clear, then you kind of want your space clear as well. So that's been a big one for me lately is doing that. And also with work, like the same thing, that if I'm trying to make myself do it, it's hard. But if I sit down and just think about the problem for a little while, I'll get some kind of inspiration that actually will get me back to it and actually help me work, because I'm terrible at procrastinating or even self-sabotaging in a lot of places. And I find that, sitting down and thinking about it and coming up with a plan makes me get motivated to do that without having to force myself.
Hmm. I just want to make one comment based on something you said and then get to you two. I do feel like there is some truth to our outward living space, office, whatever it is, being a reflection of our inward. So if I let, say, the dishes pile up, or if I'm have a chaotic environment, it might speak to a chaos in my life, in my mind, in my inward. And it may be that I'm not stopping, like you're talking about, to meditate, to be mindful, to be present. That's what, mostly what we're talking about is being present, fully engaged, and not letting things pull us out of that. But when we do that, I think often what is around us will reflect that, but maybe not. I don't know. What do y'all think? But go ahead. What original question to you two?
Um, the word that came to my mind was attunement when we're
Mm.
talking about flow, and especially in relationship to my job and uh, the importance of relationships just in general for me. And um, I will have sessions where there is an attunement with the client, and some of it is history. Some of it has to do with how we've worked together. Some of it probably has to do with where they're at in the moment, where I'm at in the moment. And when that attunement is there, um, things can kind of happen, and I can allow them to happen. And it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel, and it's kind of a flow, And I'm still learning to trust myself with that. One example is I had a session uh, this morning with a woman I've been seeing for probably close to 3 years. She's in her early 40s, going through a really difficult time, just holding on and holding in so much, lots of uncertainty and fear. We were talking, and I was kind of guiding her and kind of slowing down and tuning in and seeing what she noticed and listening to her body. Um, and I had her follow her body a couple different times and just do whatever her body wanted to do and notice it. At one point, she curled up, and just kind of what was she noticing when she curled up? And I mean, this is just she's doing this on her own, right? A couple times she made some motions with her hands, and I paused and I said, "Okay, I want you to do that again, but I want you to just, you know, sit, just notice." And I had this idea in my head, and this is where I say I'm learning to trust it more, I guess, because the idea came to my head a couple times, just in the matter of a few moments. It's like it came in and I excused it. It came in and I excused it, and then it came in, and I said, "Okay." And this is, someone who there's a level of familiarity and trust and comfort and openness. Um, so I had her stand up, and I had her put out her hands, because part of this is her voice, and she said she could feel like right here is where she felt the tightness, the tension, the withholding, the ick, whatever you want to call it, you know. Um, and she was describing something that happened in her personal life where she felt that. And again, I kind of somatically said, "Hey, can you allow yourself to go there?" And it was there, and it would not come out. It would not come out. Um, and this is a woman who has experienced some of the worst kinds of abuse, and not felt like she's had a voice, and is in the process of learning and accepting and feeling more empowered with her voice. So I had her stand up and put out her hands, just as a way of, like, you know, um, and I had her do it a couple times, and I said, "Okay." And I stood up with her, and I put my hands against her hands, and I said, "I want you to push." And, she just started pushing and pushing. She started tearing up a little bit. I said, "That's okay. Just stay with it. Just stay with it." And I said, I will stay here as long as you want to. And when you're ready to pause, you can pause." And then, we processed it, sat down, and we kind of talked about what she noticed. And then we kind of went on our way and kind of meandered through some other things that were related. And then before the end of the session, she was sitting differently. She was sitting differently, and she was talking a little bit differently. Um, and I said, "You know what? Let's do this again. I want you to stand up." And we did this again. And okay. She was pushing, and I was just allowing her force to come against me. And
She pushed you down.
what are you noticing? What are you noticing? And so, and that was one of those kind of flow,
Yeah.
for, I guess you talk about writing, and for me, when I can have that sense of connectedness and flow. And it's interesting you held up your phone, because I know that my phone is probably the thing that most takes me out.
Mm.
It most takes me out. And it's, I have that addiction. I want to look at some things. I have a couple of my little things that I love to look at and check out, and my fantasy sports and my rocks and some other shit. And I'll get lost. And it's talk about focus and losing
Yeah.
time. I'll get lost. And I know when I've got this is my goal when I start my day. I don't look at my phone other than to see if I have like a voicemail or a message that I need to look at, but I don't go into my phone until at least like 10 or 11 in the morning. After I've done a few different things. I've done my morning routine. I've maybe seen a client or two. And it's kind of a discipline And I notice when I start looking, say I have 20 minutes between a session and I've been kind of checking some things out. When I go back into that session, it takes more effort to come into the flow because I will periodically have that squirrel
Yeah.
of what I had been, looking at. So
As someone who has worked with Bob, um, I know of your incredible presentness, attention, focus in the session. And I've seen how many times that leads to great insights and gentle reminders or questions that say, just like you were recounting, let's try this, or would you be open to trying, and that's what a gift that is to your clients that would not be possible if you weren't present. I don't think, and not in the same way, at least, where you can say, oh, there's not a manual for this. There's not one size that fits all. This will work with this person. This will not work with that person. And that it so relates to what I was saying about acting. If you're interacting with someone, it can't be rote. It can't be just the lines. It can't just be what I do with everyone. It's what is our connection? So I so appreciate what you do. And as you were recounting that, I was thinking, yeah, I've experienced that so many times with you, and that's a real gift.
a short side note related to this, and then I'll hand it over to Jasmine. When you were also talking about acting and needing to be prepared and things like that. So in high school, I was my freshman and sophomore year in high school, I was part of the speech team. And on the speech team, we would go to speech tournaments or whatever, and there were probably 8 or 9 different types of things that you could choose to do. Um, and
You're not talking about debate. It's actually a speech,
no, both.
right?
There
Oh,
was there was debate. There were different. My point is the kind of what I did was all memorized.
hmm.
I did not feel comfortable because one of the things you could do is it's called impromptu, and you would get a sentence or something, then you'd have a minute or two, and then you would talk about it for 5 minutes. And there was a debate team, and then there was another one that was even more involved that had to do with government dynamic. That's not even the right word, but basically, you had your research, and you would be given a topic, and then you would have like 20 minutes to go through your research because it was within a certain realm, and then put together like a 20-minute talk. And my point is the things that were in the moment and impromptu, I did not feel secure or comfortable doing. I needed to have the memorized piece. And yeah.
That relates to what I mentioned earlier, which is the greatest in the world at doing this are the ones that are doing the most prep. They've done it the longest. They've put all the work in. So what seems to be inspiration or seems to be of the moment, and like it is them bringing all that into this. And again, they're not thinking, oh, I need to, do this move that leads to that shot. It's a flow. Not possible if they hadn't done everything and all the study that Bob has done, all the education and then the years and years and years of doing it makes it. I'm bringing all of that, and when I'm fully present, there's a incredible flow. In the same way, if each of us did what you were describing, but rather than any prep, we were just given a topic. If Bob, you were given IFS, if Jasmine, you were given social work, if I was given writing, Jen, if you were given coding or website development or whatever, we could just go because we got it. We know what it is. And there would be a flow, but only because of all we put in prior to that. It's not of the moment. It is, but it's all because we can bring what we have to that moment. Okay, Jazz.
I was just thinking of a conversation you and I had the other night, Michael, where we were
We cannot tell them about that.
we were talking a little bit. Well, the subject of focus came up because one of my challenges, particularly over the last couple of years, and certainly the last, it's waxed and waned the last decade, but the last couple of years, focus has been so difficult for me. And one of the examples I gave was as I'm speaking on the podcast I was sharing with Michael, there are times that I hear myself speaking and realize I don't even remember what I'm talking about, what I've just said. Like my mind has gone someplace else. And so it makes a lot of things challenging, keeping track of time, keeping track of the sticky notes that, that help me keep track of what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's particularly challenging to go from someone who is able to juggle so many different balls and keep so much organized in my mind and have great memory recall, be able to stay on task, to forget, to be in the middle of something and forget what I'm doing. It's scary even. So I was thinking what a gift focus is, whether for ourselves, but I Googled it, but I couldn't find, Google AI gave me some generic answers. Trying to find, there's a movie where one of the characters, I feel like it's a male character, rewards people. It's like, now I'll reward you with 3 minutes of undivided focus or something, undivided attention. And it's so kind of creepy and, just sort of over the top. But I think there's a little bit of truth to that, where we have become so distracted and so caught up sometimes in the things that they're important things that I think sometimes people are uncomfortable with being the center of our undivided focus, of receiving that attention. And there's so much now that you could find about mindfulness and being present, because they're so important.
Yeah.
That even in working in the schools, there's a lot of information for teachers and for different staff about helping students to be mindful and to be present and to use meditation to help them focus, because we have so many things in this digital era that teach us to work in short bursts and to focus in short bursts. That we, I think it's an important thing to, whether you're someone like me who realizes your focus is not what it has been, and getting to the bottom of why that is, and healing my body and my mind and getting back on track, or, if you find yourself, jumping from things to things, because I have been guilty in the past, particularly of staying busy so that I didn't have time to focus on what was hurt, where I was hurt, and some of the things that I was carrying, and really healing. I just kept surviving, and that will catch up with you. The healthier thing to do is prioritize your time. And, we had this discussion as well. Michael and I enjoy playing pickleball. Love playing pickleball, and particularly lately it's been challenging between differing schedules and family around, all great things, but the weather has not been has not been our friend. So even today we're messaging, what are you doing with work, what am I doing with work, and we're checking the weather and carving out that time. And I think and it's such a great time, I think, for both of us, the exercise, the outdoors. And so I think sometimes part of focus is setting that environment and setting that time when, like Jen says, there's something that needs to be done. So she meditates and gets into that frame of mind to do what she needs to do. And whether it's self-care, whether it's work, whether it's being present with family or loved ones, reminding ourselves of the need to focus and what's it's important to focus on.
Absolutely. So good. Appreciate that so much. Everything y'all shared. I do want to say that experts also say that these unnamed experts I keep referring to say that there is a notion that when it comes to work, especially, but maybe other things too, that stick to itiveness, you stay until it's done. and how that's a misnomer, because trying to punch through something is not necessarily the way our minds work. So I'm not saying that um, there's not a place for long form activities, but for the most part, we're not meant to be sedentary. We should be getting up, walking, moving. We should have some time and space between activities, even when you're doing something like I am, which is writing. And I would like to write, get as much done in my writing day as possible, whether that's a chapter, a scene, 2 chapters, whatever it is. But I find for me that what these experts are saying is true, and that is, if I work for a while and then break it up, um, with anything, getting up to get something to drink, walking out in the sunshine for a little while, making a call, whatever, and then come back to it. I attempt to do that when I'm in a good place to do that, which means I may reach the end of a scene or reach a moment where I know how to pick right back up when I get back. So it's a good time to break. Sometimes I don't get that. And so it's just an unnatural break. But the way so-called inspiration works, that lightning bolt of inspiration, goes back to what I was saying earlier about we fill ourselves, and if we're working on something and the inspiration does not come, very often, if we get away from that thing and do something else, particularly if it's a mindless something else, like showering, how many times you get a good idea in the shower? Driving, walking, you get away from it and it's like, aha, those aha moments usually don't come when we're like trying to push through and like, I'm not going to stop until I solve this problem. And again, mostly I'm talking about problem solving kind of issues or needing a lightning bolt of inspiration. They seem to come in unexpected moments, but that's because of all the work we've done prior, and then stepping away a little bit, it it comes to us more organically, easily, in a certain flow. And that's, I think, related to how the mind works. I've mentioned that for writing, and I think this would be true for everything we do, but for me, for writing, if I don't know what's going to happen next, if I've written myself into a corner or just trying to follow the story and I just don't know, the best thing I can do is think about it and sleep on it. And when I'm sleeping, my subconscious is doing everything. It does all the work. Then I wake up the next morning or after the nap, 20 minutes later, whatever it is, I'm like, aha. But that aha moment came because there was a lot of focus, and then there was a little letting go, and then there was being open to something arriving. So I feel like in a way that's a lot of what you were describing. Um, do Jasmine, you mentioned sticky notes and reminders, things, but do any of you have strategies that you use to help focus? Do you have pitfalls that you try to avoid that really suck focus away, pull you away, cause you to squirrel? Um, do you have strategies that you use to maintain or get to the place where you're focusing on what matters most in your day?
With 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 work, I take notes during sessions, maybe more notes than some folks, and I still do it handwritten. But doing that allows me to not have to worry about trying to remember anything. And so when I can let go of thinking I've got to make sure I remember this or I got to make sure I remember that, when I know, and it might just be a certain way that I write something or whatever it is, So I know, the next time that person comes in, I look at my notes and I'm back. But generally, I do not carry and remember and hold on to something from a session, um, and then have that with me. Otherwise, I mean, kind of experiences like this morning, like I shared with you. That's one thing, and of course, there are times like that, or some things that are incredibly impactful that somebody says, or that somebody triggers things and they activate my own parts, whatever. But that's probably the thing that helps me let go the most is I've written it. I know that I've tracked something in the moment, and I know I can come back to it.
Yeah.
Now if I could do that, learn to do that in a way with my family.
Yeah.
If I could have my notes for family, then
You what you're doing is tactile, right?
yeah.
You're making a connection. And again, experts say that when we're listening to a lecture, taking notes causes us to get more, not even referring to them, just the act of note taking causes us to retain more, to get more. And
And
so
I'm curious, Michael, is this not the same as this
it is for me. The typing it's more so.
now? Okay.
Yeah. And I've wondered about that. I think it's because my handwriting is so horrible. I just feel like, when I started writing in a serious way, fiction especially, it was on a computer. Have not known writing prior to that. I mean, a little bit of as a kid writing with a pen or pencil, but all the writing I've done as a considering myself a writer has been on a keyboard. And I have writer friends that say don't do that. You want to have a long, write in longhand, so then when you retype it, you're actually rewriting it. You can fool yourself by seeing how pristine it looks on the monitor, and it's you rewriting and editing needs to take place, so you fool yourself by seeing how good it looks. But for me, it does open. There's a flow. There's a something. Not saying I don't experience it with a pen, but it is different. And for me, this the most opening up of the portal. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention related to what you were saying, and I think you said this. But I want to reiterate it and say for me, this works, and I've recommended it to so many. If I will jot, if I'll make a list, if I'll write something down, and I typically just do it on a scrap piece of paper, I have a list. The moment I write it on this, I don't have to keep it in here. I can let it go. So I'm not trying to think, okay, what was that? What was I supposed to? And as we're talking, I just got a ding, right? And I'm like, what? Who? And it's Jasmine. Jasmine's texting me in the middle of our conversation, but guess what? She's not. Earlier, I asked her to set a text reminder for when I thought we would be finishing up to go get ice for Birdie's Brew because Malia's traveling. And so I use those kind of reminders too. And guess what? I haven't been thinking about, I need to get ice for Birdie's tonight. Because I knew, I trusted, write it down and you don't, so it frees up space. And I feel like in the way that the phones and, everything else is a distraction, we only have so much bandwidth. And if it's trying to remember the thing I was not supposed to forget, and I think we would do so much better if we jot it, make a list that we refer to, and we have to refer to it. There's many times where Jasmine and I will make a shopping list, and we'll go into the store and we'll glance at it once and think we've got it. We'll finish up and we'll say, what? Oh, and we forgot 2 or 3 things because we didn't refer back to the list sort of line by line. But I highly recommend writing shit down and referring to it and setting reminders to ourselves. Jen, you not only have to remember things and, have so much going on, but you're managing so many others that are doing this. What's your approach to either not forgetting or being present, or do you take notes? What do you do?
My calendar. Oh, I live and die by my calendar. And if I don't put something on there, I generally will forget it. Because, I mean, it used to be, I did one or two things, but now that I do so much, like a lot of times my weekends are planned out 6 and 8 weeks in advance. I was looking for a new moon ceremony with the local lyceum group here. And like, this was back in, I think, February. And the first time I had a new moon free or full moon free, whatever it was like in July. So that's the big thing. And once you get used to it, like it never, there's some I always laughed at people that used it, but once you get used to it, it really takes a lot off your mind. When somebody says, "Hey, what do you have to do this day?" You can pull it up and actually see everything. So that's really my biggest organization
Do
to me.
you use a digital
Oh yeah,
calendar, and do you get reminders
oh
like
yeah.
on your phone, or how does it work?
No, it's a definitely Outlook. So, and some things have a 15-minute reminder if it's at work. It's got a 5 minute or a 15-minute reminder. It says you got this meeting come up. If it's you know, a party where you've got to pick something up, I'll set a week reminder and a 3-day reminder to say, we've got this coming up. Be sure and pick up. So the reminders I set, based on what the event is and if there has to be any pre planning for it and stuff like that. But yeah, it's very handy.
Such a great use of technology, making it work for you. Look what I do. Old school desk calendar. I can glance at it now. Obviously, the stuff I'm scheduling is nothing like what you're scheduling. So, but I still stick with this and try to refer to it. Make sure am I? And it helps to write it down. And so however you do it, I think developing a system that works for us is all we have to do. And we might look at what work is working for others, but that may not be what it is for us. And so figuring it out. And I would say Jen has got it figured out.
Well, the nice thing about that is you're at your desk a lot, or I'll be out on an event or, at doing whatever. So having the digital version is nice because it syncs across all your devices. And
Yeah.
if you're at a place where you can't get to something, you can actually log onto the web and pull it up. So that's why I really like it. Because
Yeah.
if I'm out, if I forget what she wrote down on that calendar, I wouldn't.
Right.
I know I got something to do at 6, but what is it? My current thing is trying to get out of doing so much stuff and stop doing so much stuff, so I don't have to have a calendar, live by a calendar so much.
Which brings up the truism that less is more. And if we have less, we try to do less, we'll have more focus, we'll have more energy, we'll have more attention to bring to that. And so when the two roads diverge in the yellow wood, we have to make a choice, which of course then makes all the difference. Do we choose the road less traveled or the other path? We can only choose one in that case. And in every choice we make, we're choosing not to do other things. If we do more of that, more choosing not to do other things, leave more space, then we can have more flow. We can have more calm. We can have more peace. we can have more flow. And so Jasmine and I were talking, I think it was last night. We had a situation that was essentially a misunderstanding, I would say. But the thing I said to her is, I have a challenge saying no. So if someone calls me, especially someone close, if I can possibly do it, I'm going to. That's my own issue, and if I need to say no more, that I've got to work on that. But I was saying to her, if you say you're going to do this thing, all you're going to do is get from me support and encouragement, and not no, don't do that, or we saying no, it matters. It's important, and learning that I will probably have a better life if I do less, if I have less going on up here, if I say no, So again, that's my own personal challenge, the no thing, um, but I have learned to say no more, and it, as difficult as it is, it in the long way. I'll give you an example. There was a situation, I think it was within the last week, where I was given the opportunity to keep my granddaughters, and I never say no to that. Never. And I was in a flow. I had, and I said yes if one of the other grands can't do it. But if they can, then I'll pass this time. Dude, that was so hard. That was so difficult. And I felt some guilt. I had to address and deal with all that within me, but I did maintain the flow, and it was I think it was the right decision. It was a good decision in the moment, for that time. And it was within 2 days I got to keep him another time that was perfect. So timing wise, it was perfect. So less is more. Say no. Any other final thoughts on
If I
related?
say no to the people I love,
Then what?
I'm asking you.
That is the question. Then what? Yes. Yes, indeed.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good topic today.
Anybody else have anything? All right. I'm going to close with this. We live in a world of distraction that is only getting worse. We're seeing an increase in attention deficit disorders and all manner of things that are related to, we're seeing breakdown in real connections. I think it's all related to focus, to attention, to how we are managing our time and our minds. And I feel like there's relatively small tweaks we can all do to improve. And we've talked about them tonight. We've talked about writing things down. We've talked about really being present. And that might mean our phones and other devices need to be in another room or shut off. And doing our best to do our part to be fully present and give someone, whoever we're interacting with, give them the gift of our full attention. And if it's something we're working on, like a novel or an assignment or a client or whatever it is, the gift of our full attention. And I feel like our lives and our work and the quality of our relationships will improve exponentially. Thank y'all so much. Sure appreciate this. Sorry again for being late. I did not intend, but guess what I did? I didn't look at my phone, so I didn't know what fucking time it was. Sorry.
I need you to set a reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell you what,
Really enjoyed this. Thank you.
That's the other thing I do is set alarms. Like because I'm at about
Yep.
I'll have 30 minutes between a meeting, so I'll start to do something. So setting an alarm for 2 minutes before it starts is a key for me to actually making things on time.
I do that all the time, and I never say what it is. I just set. So, like, if I'm getting my hair cut at 2:30, at 2:00, there's an alarm that goes off, and I say, "What was that? Oh, yeah, I'm getting a haircut." So I don't even put what it is. I just set the alarm.
Yeah.
I use in the morning or times when I need to keep myself on track. I'll use like the snooze feature, just like because it goes off every 9 minutes, so it's like a way of me being able to monitor how much time is passing when I need to.
I didn't know that. That every 9 minutes it goes off.
Well, I think it's different.
You can customize
Sure,
different times
yeah,
on different snooze, but yeah.
That's a good idea.
It wasn't something I'd had to do before, but because Michael will say it's not, that it typically takes him. It's not the time that I think I'm going to get someplace or get something done, and I recognize some of that is just I don't have a great concept of time.
Jasmine left here at 8:08 last night and was said that she would be back by 9 with our food and her son, and it was 10:00 when she got back. Now, I feel like the 9:00 was not ever going to happen. I mean, literally, I don't think you could have driven there, gotten him, done everything, gotten back. But I think for all of us, it's easy to misinterpret the time or the time we think something's going to take. Like me tonight, it's 6:30. I said, we have plenty of time for one more game. It'll take 10, 15 minutes. I'll be back at, and 30 minutes later.
I can't quit you.
I want to know where you're picking your son.
Basketball.
Where were you picking your son up from that you thought you could make it in an hour?
Callaway. She's going to Callaway and back, picking up our dinner and her son, and it was going to be 50 minutes.
Well, I was thinking,
you got magic.
Well, I was thinking like at that time of night, on a weeknight, going from Weewa to Boat Race Road and back, not a big deal. I did not think about the 15-ish minutes from like Tyndall Parkway and 22 to Royal Tie, and then back. I just didn't.
And that was the most important 15 minutes of the trip.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was so good.
And then there was a semi that blocked the road, and then I forget what else. People were going slow on 22 because there was a deputy parked on the side. Just what's that?
I said your broom couldn't just fly over them.
Hey, that's just mean.
Well, thank y'all again. Hey, I would love to get together sometime. I know y'all.
Yeah.
Jenna, I know you're not available till next July, but
early Saturday.
Find some time. What's that?
I've got a thing from 7 to 9 on Saturday, but early Saturday, if you will.
7 to 9 p.m.
Yeah, if you want to do an early dinner or something.
You guys want to come over here?
Do like a late afternoon kind of thing.
I'll grill something. If you guys want to come over here, you can. Mandy and Mary are out and about tomorrow doing stuff.
That would be lovely if that works.
Let me know.
I switched back to eating meat today too.
Wow.
Ooh.
I've got to get under control, and that's the only way I know how to actually get my diet under control.
Well, then we definitely need to eat Bob's meats on Saturday. Bob, we have the meats. My favorite meat sauce is Bob's. What's it called? Bob's
Country Bob's.
Country
Country
Bob's.
Bob's.
Bob sauce. Yeah.
Country Bob's. Well, I would love to if that works for y'all. That would be marvelous. Are you sure, Bob? You got
I'm
that
positive.
open?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I would say anytime after anytime after 1:00. You guys let me know when it works. We know Jen needs to leave by around 6 or 5:30 or whatever.
So I've got a hair appointment at 1, so on the beach, so I could probably be there by 2:30 or 3.
You want to plan on 3:00?
I want to do 3.
Okay,
Sounds
cool.
good.
Awesome.
Yay!
And let us know what we can bring.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can bring sides or whatever, or we can bring meat for you to throw on the grill. I don't know.
Well, I'll get that.
We can bring some rocks for you to cut with your new cutter. Yeah, I need this. I need this thing cut.
Red meat is preferable, I think, for the 3 of you. Is that correct? Or fish or poultry, or a little bit of mixed. I know I know, Michael. You and Jasmine like red meat.
Yeah, we do.
I love red meat too.
Okay. Okay.
The only kind of meat I won't eat is green meat.
You do not like green eggs and ham?
That was one of Chris Rock's stand up, back in the day. He's like, everybody's talking about red meat will kill you. Red meat will kill you. He said, no, green meat will kill you. Love y'all. Thank y'all. I guess you can stop.